Hello, and thank you for joining us at Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is the podcast where we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s. I'm one of your hosts, Justin. I'm here with my other host, Tyler.
Oh, this is a classic today.
Surfin
Safari.
Yeah, they're angling in Laguna and Cerro Azul.
Yeah, come on, baby. Wait and see. Yes, I'm going to take you surfing with me.
Everybody's learning how.
Everybody's getting down.
Something like that.
I don't know the words.
Of course, today we're going to do the Beach Boys and one of their, well, pretty much their first hit, Surfin Safari. And although this isn't a song that started the surfing music craze, it's, I think the Beach Boys, without a doubt, popularized it.
So the surfing craze, did it span back into the 50s?
More into the early 60s. You had Mr. Moto by the Bel Airs, which hit in 1961. A lot of people consider that one of the earliest songs. Dick Dale and the Deltones also. But, I mean, the Beach Boys, without a doubt, popularized it across the world.
Well, it seems like you can't even have Annette and Frankie Avalon, or Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon without the Beach Boys backing them up.
If you say so.
I say so.
Then I agree with you.
Okay, go 60s.
Let me get you a little history on the Beach Boys, the band. Of course, they're an American rock and roll band. They're from Hawthorne, California. They were formed in 1961. They were originally known as the Pendletons. One of the first American groups, and this is kind of what's special about the Beach Boys, to actually play, write, and sing all of their own songs. That's just not something that was done by other groups at the time. They're also one of the few American bands that had continued success throughout the British invasion, which the British invasion really killed the popularity of a lot of the current American bands, but the Beach Boys seemed to weather that and change along with that.
I kind of consider the Beach Boys to be the American counterparts to the Beatles.
I think they kind of are, but they were a huge influence on the Beatles early and a lot of those bands too, that, you know, you're living in deep, dark, dire England or something where it's, you're not doing a lot of surfing over there.
No, there's more being a mod.
Yeah, exactly. But the original lineup of the Beach Boys was Brian Wilson on bass, Dennis Wilson on drums, Carl Wilson on lead guitar. Of course, those guys are all brothers. You've got Mike Love on vocals and saxophone. Mike Love's a cousin of the Wilson brothers, and friend Al Jardine on rhythm guitar. Now, the band was originally managed by their dad, Murray Wilson, but there's a lot of tension and history there if you want to go research a little bit of that. The band was signed by Capitol Records in 1962. Now, the Beach Boys obviously are well known for their surf-style music and really just describing the culture of Southern California at the time. You know, surfing, cars, love. Really kind of emulated that California sound, or that's what it became, was the California sound. Another thing the band is really well known for is their beautiful harmonies. This band has amazing harmonies throughout their career. They've sold over 100 million albums worldwide. They released 29 studio albums, 11 live albums, and 56 compilation albums.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So as far as their studio albums are concerned, 15 of those reached the top 40. 10 of them reached the top 10. Surf's Up and Summer Days both reached number 2. They did not have a number 1 album, as many albums of these guys have sold.
Amazing. That's so surprising to me.
But that is studio album. They did have a greatest hits called Endless Summer that was released in 1974 that did hit number 1 in the charts. So they've released a total of 75 singles. Now, 53 of those singles reached the top 100. 37 of those reached the top 40, which is the most of any American band ever, by the way. They had 14 of those singles reach the top 10. They had 4 number 1 singles. I Get Around was their first number 1 single in 1964. Help Me Rhonda, Good Vibrations, and then Kokomo, clear in 1988, so quite removed from their popularity of the 60s.
Little Saint Nick didn't make it up there?
No, it didn't make it this time.
Oh, that's a shame.
And I know you hate that song.
That is one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
And I like it.
You do?
Well, you only have to hear it once a year.
Yeah, Christmas comes this time each year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for what it's worth, Rolling Stone has ranked the Beach Boys as the number 12th best artist of all time. I find that to be fair.
You know, all things considered, with the top one, or was it top 500? Yeah, that's pretty dang good on them. I'd probably go a step or two higher, but I think that's fair.
Also, the band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. Now, the Beach Boys are still touring to this day, and although Brian Wilson and Al Jardine are official members of the band, they do not tour with the band. This band's definitely one of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful and influential bands of all time. I mean, they've been going for 60 plus years now. Do you want to get to the song review?
Yes, I do.
And now it's time for the song review.
So today we're doing the Beach Boys and their hit Surfin Safari. Now, this was released as basically the band's first single, really their first single with Capitol Records. It was released on June 4th of 1962. So a song called Surfin was actually their first release song. It was released when they were with a record company called Candix Records, and it did not chart well. They did record this song, Surfin Safari, during that time, but it has a tad bit different lyric and a little bit different instrumentation in it, but basically the same thing.
They don't use the organ as heavily.
I don't know. So this song is written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love, is released in the UK as well in October of 1962, but it did not chart in the UK. I guess they weren't ready for the surfing thing yet.
Yeah, there's not a lot of surfing going on in the UK.
So Surfin Safari was actually included on the band's debut album, which was also called Surfin Safari. So this is the title track of that album. The album itself reached number 32 on the Billboard charts here in the U.S. The B-side of Surfin Safari was a really popular song of theirs called 409, which that was a big hit for them too. It only reached number 76 on the charts, but that's still played everywhere today. And that song is really the song. You talk about these guys starting surfing music and stuff, but they have a lot of songs about cars. And that one really started kind of the hot rod music and the car scene of the 60s in music. So that was a popular song off this single as well.
You know, Justin, I am really surprised to hear how poorly these songs did. Like, I would think that this single would have been sold out like crazy, being released at the very beginning of summer in 1962. I would think that people would have just burned right through record after record, playing it over and over again, both sides. Those are two amazing songs. And I mean, I guess maybe it took a second for the kids to catch on to it, but I'm surprised that these numbers are so low.
Well, that's 409 hit number 76 is the B-side, which isn't bad. Now, Surfin Safari did hit number 14 in the U.S. charts, but you got to keep in mind, too, this is really the band's first release. And it seems like with bands, it doesn't matter how good they are. When they're unknown, it's hard to buy into that popularity. Yeah. But once it catches on, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter how bad they are. The popularity can continue sometimes.
Yeah, they just got to get that first foothold, right?
Yeah, exactly. So originally, the original version that was a little bit different when they were with Candix Records was recorded at World Pacific Studios. But the known version that you hear on the radio and all through pop culture today, it was recorded at Western Recorders. And really the only different in the lineup is you had David Marks on guitar in the original, and you have Al Jardine in this one. So they recorded this song during the same session as 409 and another song called Their Hearts Were Full of Spring. And at the time, the Beach Boys consisted of Mike Love on lead vocals, Brian Wilson on bass and vocals, Dennis Wilson on drums and vocals, Carl Wilson on lead guitar and vocals, and, of course, David Marks on the original one and Al Jardine on the second one. So this was the first recorded song that we know about that features distinctive counterpoint harmonies, which is what the Beach Boys do and what they're really well known for.
So the counterpoint harmonies, is that where they're singing different, like the chorus there?
Correct, yeah. Okay. You've got the chorus going through, but you've got them in the background.
With a backup singing
exactly.
over. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's kind of what made the Beach Boys the first total self-contained artists of the rock and roll era. I mean, they were writing their own songs, they were playing their own music, they were singing their own songs, and they sang all the harmonies. They're not bringing in a bunch of studio musicians, although when you get to Pet Sounds and stuff, Brian Wilson employed everyone.
A whole orchestra.
Yeah. I mean, the niche for the Beach Boys is really the surfing and car music, and The funny thing about that is, out of all the Beach Boys, only Dennis Wilson, the drummer, was the only one that actually surfed. So,
yeah, well, he was just there for, research purposes.
yeah, I guess it's a way to hit your niche, and you can kind of be a poser, and it doesn't matter, right?
That is really funny.
and like I said, this hit number 14 in the charts. This is the band's first major hit. I don't know who hasn't heard Surfin' Safari. It's featured in films and TV and commercials, and
it's everywhere.
One of my favorite movies from 1973, American Graffiti. So this song's everywhere, and I think everyone's heard it, and I think everyone knows it's the Beach Boys. I would hope. If you don't, then shame on you, I guess.
Yeah, this is your quintessential Beach Boys. It sounds like Beach Boys.
Well, it should. It's them.
Yeah.
So we listened to the song twice, the original version twice, and then we did listen to the 2021 stereo remix, which I thought was remixed better, and it does sound better, but I think it loses a little bit of the charm. Sometimes the muddy mixing in the early 60s songs, you can complain about them, and that you can tell they're not mixed super well, and you can tell the recording process had a limit to it, but I think that's what gives some of these songs their charm as well. But after listening to those, Tyler, what do you think of the Beach Boys' Surfin' Safari?
This song, I've heard it so much, but I can't say necessarily ear burn so much. It's so familiar. This is a song that I grew up with, and that it's very familiar to me. It's a fun song. I don't know any kid that doesn't enjoy this song. And some of the things I found noteworthy about it is like the rhythm with the percussion, and also the guitar. I think specifically the bass guitar. It does this, boom, boom, and it speeds up. It's got that. It just became so iconic of a surfing wave hitting that pipeline and curling in and crashing. And, it's just kind of like the song Wipeout is kind of a ripoff of it, sort of thing. It's just that sort of thing. And it's just a real popular rhythm of that culture and that time. And most specifically of that subject of surfing. And it's something about that just, it makes it so exciting. Everybody loves it. If you don't like surfing, I'm sure you would enjoy watching someone surf. There's something just so amazing about it. Seeing somebody go out there and jump up on a board and ride a wave.
One of my favorite movies of all time is The Endless Summer. And it's about these two guys that just travel the world surfing, and I just love watching it. It's kind of cool. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to check it out, because it's pretty good.
I do need to check that one out, because I haven't seen it, but man.
It would be in my top 10 favorite movies, and it's not like full of drama or comedy or anything like that. It's kind of boring isn't the word, because it's enjoyable, but it's just kind of plain, but it's great. It's got great music to it as well.
Yeah, it sounds great. I will try this one out, but this Surfin' Safari, man, they sing about how their whole day is just about surfing. They get up in the morning and they load their boards into their woody car, which, the wood paneled cars of the, I guess it would be of the 50s.
Yeah.
Because they were older cars by the time the 60s rolled around, but, it seemed like they were iconic of surfing culture. They would drive them down to the beach, and they'd go and surf out with this one spot. And then they talk about going from spot to spot to spot, kind of beach hopping or surfing spot hopping, the way that party people would go club hopping or bar hopping.
It's pretty impressive from a bunch of guys that didn't surf.
For real. It's kind of like, a bunch of Mormons going bar hopping or singing about bar hopping. Yeah. I think it's great. But that little factoid, I'm blown away, because even knowing that fact, I'm like, okay, I challenge anybody to tell the Beach Boys, you don't know anything about surfing. I'm like, these guys wrote the soundtrack to surfing.
Yet none of them surfed except one of them, which is just kind of funny.
The drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie Manson's friend.
Yeah, that's funny to me. So in the chorus, there's this really cool thing that goes on where the lead singer's singing the part, "Come on, baby, wait and see. I'm going to take you surfing with me." And then the backup guy comes and sings Surfin' Safari over and over again over it. And what did you say that was?
Well, they call it a counterpoint harmony.
Counterpoint harmony. Did they invent that, or?
I should say it's pretty much the first time people have investigated that it was introduced in recorded music. I'm sure there were other people doing it. Maybe they were influenced by it somewhere, but I guess somebody's got to invent something somewhere along the line. We'll just assume the Beach Boys invented it.
I'm good with that because, boy, it sounds great. And you do hear them do this in other songs, so it worked out really good. What are your thoughts on Surfin' Safari, Justin?
You know, I like this song quite a bit. I said I hear it a lot in pop culture. There's not really a whole lot of... A couple of the oldie stations, like the 60s station on Sirius XM, will play it. I have it in my Spotify playlist, which is like 10,000 songs long, so it's in there. But I don't hear it a ton, but there's something about it in the springtime or early summertime where I'm not a surfer. I'm not out in California on the ocean, but it gives you that feeling, that California sound of cars and surfing. And I don't even think I want to surf, to be honest with you. I just don't really care for salt water.
No, I just want to go to the beach and, roast some marshmallows over the fire. And I mean, when you talk about like the remastered version, it's kind of like, that's a great image of it. So if you go to the beach and you hear this band playing and you got the crackle of the fire there and you're listening to the original recording that has like their raw instruments, the fire in the background and stuff, you're like, oh, wow, this just really evokes that feeling. And then you go and listen to the studio remastered, cleaned up, and they have that crackling of the fire toned out. They've got the instruments more refined and they've got more evenly mixed. You're going to enjoy it, but it's not going to have that same grip of that capturing the moment, right?
Yeah, the character of the song means a lot.
Yeah.
But this song opens up with a drum hit. You've got Brian Wilson start singing this song, and then Mike Love comes in. He's the higher singer on that. But this song, like all Beach Boys songs, I think the thing that sticks out more than anything besides the culture feeling it gives you is the harmonies. I think the bass, like you hit on earlier, is one of the best things in this song. It's got a pretty decent guitar solo in the middle of it that I really enjoy, which is reminiscent of all the surf rock music. The drums are decent in it, but they are a little tinny and mixed to the back a tiny bit, but that's not surprising for 1962. Like I said earlier, the 2021 stereo remix, it sounds better, it sounds cleaner, but just some of the character and class has gone out of it. So I really enjoy hearing this original version. It's a really good song. Do you want to rate it?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first episode, I'll briefly explain our rating scale. It's a 0 to 10, 10 being the best, and I put this one pretty far up. I was higher than I thought I would. I put it at a 9. I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan until I start listening to some of their great classics, and this one just it took me back to a beach in California. And if you've never had the opportunity to go to one of these beaches in California in the summer when all the surfers are out, it totally just captures that feeling. It's amazing. You need to do it sometime. And where do you put this one, Justin?
Well, I'm not quite as high on this song as you are. I do enjoy the Beach Boys. They're not my favorite band, but I enjoy all their hits, and I've even got into some of their albums we did earlier, Pet Sounds, which I think is a damn near perfect album, really. But I rate this song an 8. It's just a short little good song, and it shows everything they were doing to come. I think the one thing they suffer from a little bit is the first 3 or 4 years, 5 years of their career. Everything was really repetitive, but if it ain't broken, and I think that was kind of the thing. But they did evolve, with Pet Sounds and going forward. So they were able to reinvent recording too. They didn't just stick there. So
yeah, they didn't just make the same recipe over and over again. They did branch out later on.
They did. So that's the Beach Boys, Surfin' Safari. Send us an email. Let us know what you think about this song. And also send us an email. And if there's any songs or albums you'd like us to rate, classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. And we really appreciate you taking your time to listen. Until next time, we'll see you.
See you. Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.